Time for the 49ers Rush Podcast.
By far, one of my favorite free agent signings. There weren't a lot for the 49ers this offseason, but Demarcus Robinson, wide receiver, comes in number 31 on the roster countdown, and he's been playing for a minute. 10th season in the NFL is very, very impressive when, you consider this dude was drafted in the 4th round of 2016. He got drafted before Kyle Shanahan was even with the 49ers. But not only is he still playing, he's coming off one of his best years of his entire career. And so whenever you have a player that was within the division, right, played for the Rams and was dominant in the playoffs. In fact, this is the one thing I will constantly go back to. Whenever you look at what Demarcus Robinson did last year, he had more snaps, more targets, and more receiving yards than Cooper Kupp did in their playoff run. And so, again, a player whose yards per reception has gone up 3 consecutive seasons in a row. And so, if you're like, well, that's kind of a, Rams, McVay, Matt Stafford, whatever. It's happened without the Rams as well. So somebody that the film just says he figured it out. Was a career kind of number 3 wide receiver, and I think that's what it'll be for the 49ers as well, but offers upside, veteran establishment, has played in so many different schemes, so many different quarterbacks, that he's just one of those glue wide receivers that shines in the red zone, shines on third down. Not the biggest playmaker down the field, but somebody that just specializes in getting first downs and getting touchdowns. So Demarcus Robinson comes in number 31. He's wearing jersey number 5 for the 49ers this year. 6'1", 203, 33-inch arms, really, really strong catch radius, 30 years old, 4.59 40-yard dash, and so that's another thing that I think is important. When you get these older wide receivers, how do they win? Demarcus Robinson has never been a guy that won with elite speed. He has a 1.59 10-yard split. Not good. And that was coming out of the draft 10 years ago, right? So 4.6 40, 1.59, 1.6 10-yard split. Neither one of those are good metrics for wide receivers now. But he never won with speed. So whenever you don't win with speed and you're 30 years old and you start to lose a step or two, well, guess what? You have to find new ways to win. Demarcus Robinson has always won with shifty, crafty moves at the top of his stem. So whenever he's going into his break, that is where he excels. He ran a 6.69 3-cone. That's one of the best, in the NFL. Kyle Shanahan, his favorite metric with wide receivers is that 3-cone shifty, just kind of measures how you go in and out of breaks. And Demarcus Robinson, his time is up there with Jacob Cowing. His time is up there with the elites of the elite, these small, tiny, shifty guys. But he's 6'1", 200-pound guy and still has that movement. 34.5-inch vertical, 10.3 broad jump. Now, not the strongest guy, 9 bench press reps. That's not ideal. You enter in Demarcus Robinson's measurables, listen to the comps. This is exactly who he is. Josh Palmer, Van Jefferson, Justin Blackmon. This bigger-bodied wide receiver that has some quality change of direction, never really was the guy, but always a part of quality offenses because he's going to be the 3rd, 4th, 5th option. And that's going to be true with the 49ers this year as well, but provides just a little bit extra while Brandon Aiyuk's out. Ricky Pearsall, how long is that hamstring going to act up? We'll have to see. That's huge. Now, the flip side, facing a suspension. Got arrested for a DUI, and that has now pled out through the courts. And so expect a 3-game suspension coming at some point. As of this recording, that has not been announced. And it's not his first time he's been suspended. You go back to his college, suspended 2 different times at the University of Florida, which is very hard to do. Remember, Aaron Jefferson was a captain for that team. Anyway, I digress. Now, born and raised Fort Valley, Georgia, was a 4-star recruit coming out, stayed somewhat local, committed to Florida, did face 2 suspensions there, but was a solid wide receiver over multiple years at Florida. And, man, we just keep so many Florida wide receivers have come through the 49ers. You have Ricky Pearsall, who played a decade later there, obviously, but still, Demarcus Robinson coming off his best season Now, he was playing alongside Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua, but still doesn't matter. Has so much playoff experience. He was part of the Super Bowl team back in 2019 that beat the 49ers. Demarcus Robinson has 2 Super Bowls under his belt in 17 career playoff games. That's bananas. So you're talking about a 10-year vet that knows what it takes to get over the hump, that has played a full extra season in the playoffs, 17 career playoff games. That matters. The veteran experience matters. Understanding how to approach the season week by week leading up to a playoff drive, which is what the 49ers are trying to do. That's huge. That matters. The suspension definitely hurts. There's no doubt about that. But you go back to the 2016 draft, Kansas City drafted him in the 4th round, pick 129. He was the 14th wide receiver selected and has well outperformed his draft stock. He's 6th whenever it comes to most receiving yards of that draft. It's a fun draft. Tyreek Hill went after him. Remember Tyreek Hill, all the abuse charges with his child and whatever else, and kicked out of college, rightfully so. But Tyreek has the most. Michael Thomas, 2nd most. Tyler Boyd, 3. Sterling Shepard, 4. Will Ferrell, and then 6th, Demarcus Robinson. 14th wide receiver taken, 6th most receiving yards, and still counting. Dak Prescott also was drafted right after him in that 4th round, which is always fun to look back at the drafts and kind of see what's going on. Now, career numbers for Demarcus Robinson: 250 receptions, 3,013 receiving yards, 12.1 yards per carry, 27 touchdowns. Dude's just has found a way as a number 3-4 option to get into the end zone steadily throughout his career. 68 starts, played in 147 games. And, the last 2 seasons definitely played very, very well for the Rams. 57 receptions, 876 yards, 15.4 yards per catch, 11 touchdowns in 2 years. That's awesome. Now, coming off his career high in touchdowns, last year was 7. Can he replicate something like that? That'd be huge. Now, to compare that to 49ers pass catchers, Kittle led the 49ers last year with 8 receiving touchdowns. This dude had 7 and was the 3rd option at wide receiver last year for the Rams. Yards per reception's gone up 3 years in a row with 17.2 in 2020. I don't think he's going to hit that for the 49ers, but that would be awesome. And again, Jacob Cowing led the 49ers with yards per reception, even though he only had 3-4 catches. That would have been 2nd. 17.2 would have been 2nd for the 49ers last year. Film, we have a film breakdown up on the Patreon account and the 49ersrush.com if you want to go sign up. Watch Demarcus Robinson. This is my film breakdown of what he did last year in 2024. Fluid and good change of direction. Yeah, that shows with the 3-cone, and he's maintained that. Gets great separation consistently without speed. Loves the dead leg move. He just puts that dead leg out there, breaks across the body really, really hard. Just a crafty wide receiver that gets the job done. Not a yak guy. Only 1 missed tackle forced all of last season. He does his work at the break of his routes. Good hands, but he's got 20 drops over his career. That's quite a bit. It's not near as much as Debo, but still considerable amount. Smart and scheme-friendly, polished role player, and played mostly outside wide receiver. The Rams put everybody in the slot. 40% of his snaps last year were in the slot, but he's an outside guy. And I think he'll be an outside guy for the 49ers. And whenever you're in 3 wide receiver sets before Aiyuk comes back, your 2 wide receiver sets would be Juwan Jennings if he stays happy and Ricky Pearsall if he stays healthy. When you go 11 personnel and you have 3 wide receiver sets, last year the 49ers did more 11 personnel, 3 wide sets ever in Shanahan's history with the Niners. But when you do that, you kick Juwan Jennings back inside to his natural slot position. Demarcus Robinson would take over the X. That's how it's going to work out. Minor injuries, but man, best ability, durability. Demarcus Robinson has missed 1 game in 9 seasons. This dude has been able to play consistently. Now the suspension is going to be factored into that this year, but somebody that just has consistently played and is always available. Niners need that type of guy. He signed on March 13th, 2025 for the 49ers, a 2-year deal, which I love that, $8 million. Definitely got him on the cheap, and The suspension's going to affect that. It's $6 million of the $8 million fully guaranteed, but this is a bargain basement deal. Career earnings $15.4 million. He's going to, get close to, 50% increase with the $8 million over the next 2 years. I think that's huge. I just think that this is a player not going to be sexy. Probably wouldn't draft him in fantasy. Maybe you could start him on a bye week. That's about it. But whenever you look at what he could accomplish until Aiyuk comes back, is that veteran baseline depth presence, which, again, you've got safety and you've got wide receiver kind of if Juwan Chitty's everybody comes back. This was a great signing. I really, really do. And, if I project out his routes, the over-under what Chapman would put them at, 41 catches, 475 yards, and 4 touchdowns. That's what we need from him in that wide receiver 3s. And then when Aiyuk comes back, wide receiver 4 role, maybe Jacob Cowing, some of the young bucks come up and steal some snaps as well. But on third downs, especially early in the season with Aiyuk out, you want to focus on him. I really hope that suspension comes mid-year, late year, not weeks 1 through 3. We'll have to see whenever that comes out. But Demarcus Robinson is going to play a pivotal role in pivotal games this season because if teams are going to focus to take away Kittle, take away CMC, take away Aiyuk whenever he comes back, Demarcus Robinson can win one-on-one coverage. His breaks are just too good, especially at the goal line. You're going to have 2 to 3 touchdowns this year where he's the primary read on 3rd and goal from the 6, and he's going to catch it with 4-yard separation from the corner. And it's just going to be easy pitch and catch from Brock Purdy. So with a team that was so poor in the red zone last season, Demarcus Robinson's going to help that. Is he going to hit 7 touchdowns like he did last year? I don't believe so. But, man, if you told me 4, I'd be very, very happy. Demarcus Robinson makes the 49ers a better team. He makes the 49ers a better offense, and he just gives that veteran presence always going to be where he is supposed to be. And that's just such a comfort blanket for a play caller in Kyle Shanahan and for a quarterback in Brock Purdy. So, Demarcus Robinson, thanks. I'm excited. We'll see what happens with the suspension. Stay out of trouble. Call an Uber. Good Lord. Please call an Uber. Thank you to Josh for writing this episode. And for us in the 49ers team, we're just going to keep counting them down.